plant queens, welcome back to my channel. I'm Saab if we've never met before, and this is my channel where I talk about my houseplants. So first of all, I just want to thank you for clicking on this video and watching and liking and subscribing. I really do appreciate it, and I especially appreciate your comments because it really does help me out. And today we are going to be talking about splash on Hoyas. Now, if you love Hoyas or if you're into Hoyas, then you either love or don't care for splashiness on Hoya leaves. And it really depends on whether you're into variegation or not. I personally really enjoy splash on Hoyas, even though I think it can be a little bit overrated and can sometimes drive up the price. So yeah, I know one of the YouTubers I watch, Lecious Leaves, she has touched on how there are so many different varieties of Hoyas that we can be, getting and collecting instead of paying 10 times more for a splashy Hoya. But there are some affordable, splashier varieties which I will mostly be showcasing today. Except for one, I think most of these are attainable, at least where I'm from. This may be different for you where you guys are from. And yeah, before I get into the actual plants, I wanted to talk a little bit about what splash actually is. If you don't care for this part and just want to see the plants, I will put the timestamp here below where you can skip to. So splash is actually a type of variegation, but not the one we're probably used to seeing. There are actually several different types of variegation. There's chimeral variegation, found on things like the Monstera albo or the Syngonium albo, and there's pattern gene variegation, which we can see in plants like calatheas with their super ornate patterns. And in the case of Hoyas, they actually exhibit blister or reflective variegation. Now, definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I did just look this up because I was curious and I'm just relaying that information. But if you do know a little bit more about this, then feel free to discuss that in the comment section below. So basically what blister or reflective variegation is they are basically tiny air pockets between the pigmented lower layer of the leaf and the unpigmented upper layer of the leaf. So they're little air bubbles essentially between these two layers, and those form the silver splashiness that are on the surface of the leaf. And when light hits these silver splashes on the leaves, that's how it gets its silver color, if that makes sense. So Hoyas are not the only plants that exhibit this. We also see this type of variegation on watermelon peperomias, as well as Scindapsus pictus argyrius, if you're familiar with that, and other Scindapsus varieties as well. As opposed to something like chimeral variegation, which actually means that there is a lack of chlorophyll in some of the genes of the leaf. So this would be something like the Syngonium albo, where the white parts are essentially not photosynthesizing, but they are both types of mutations, just different types. And I happen to enjoy a lot of these different types of variegation. If you want a full video on this, by the way, I would be happy to do the research and maybe show you some examples of plants that exhibit these different types of variegations. That said, I also just wanted to touch quickly on whether you can induce splashiness or increase the level of splash in Hoya. From what I read, I don't think you can. Obviously, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but splashiness is more random than, say, chimeral variegation, where in a Syngonium albo or a Monstera albo, you can kind of preserve the variegation or increase levels of variegation by doing certain techniques. But with Hoyas, from what I found and from my own experience as well, it really depends a lot on the genetics of the plant, and most of the time it's pretty random. So if you have a Hoya that is not so splashy but has previous splashier leaves, in the future there is a good chance that it will suddenly put out a super silver or super splashy leaf. Now, all that said, let's just get right into why you guys are here and let's look at some plants. So the first plant I have here for you today is something I actually featured in my 5 most difficult Hoyas. So you know how I feel about this Hoya. This is my Hoya gelatis. So you can see the beautiful splashy leaves right there. That actually looks really good on camera. She is doing so much better now. I did take some parts of this and gave them to a friend recently, so she is a bit smaller. But she's doing so much better now, because if you don't notice, I have this, can you see that? Yeah, I have this acrylic enclosure, which is pretty much like a terrarium for all of these Hoyas. I only keep Hoyas in here, and this really keeps the humidity up. So for Hoyas that enjoy a little bit more humidity, like the gelatis, it actually is doing pretty well. I don't see any new growth yet, but I'm confident that since it is doing really well in this terrarium, I will see new growth eventually, or at least I hope so. So here's another look. She is really beautiful. I don't want to put you guys off by saying it's a super difficult Hoya and everything like that. If you like the way it looks and if it's affordable for you, this is definitely affordable here. I say give it a shot anyway. You might have the right conditions, or you may not just find it as finicky as some people do, like me. So the next Hoya is this Hoya croniana silver. I'm not sure if I've featured this on my channel before, but this is definitely my splashiest Hoya. And yes, I do think this is still considered splash because it does exhibit, you know, the same type of variegation. Like on some leaves, how do I show you this? On some leaves like this one, you will see that there are still some unvariegated parts. So the splash here is just way more prominent than the other plants that I'm featuring today. So this was actually an import. I think I definitely featured this in one of my videos. This was actually an import and it took a long time to rehab it. I don't think it is fully recovered yet, just because some of the leaves are still quite soft. And yeah, it's actually been really difficult to rehab this plant, but I don't mind because this was definitely one of my wishlist Hoyas. And again, I'm keeping it here where it gets probably 70 to 80% humidity every day, and it's putting out new growth. I'm not sure if I can show you that. So I'm pretty sure we are on the right track to recovery for this one. Again, this is my Hoya croniana silver. Sorry if the pots are a bit dirty, by the way. That's just because there's moss at the bottom to help keep the humidity level up. If you want a tour of this, let me know, but I should have a houseplant tour coming sometime in June. I am due for an update, so I will be showing this anyway then if you stick around. Next is another plant I featured in my difficult Hoyas collection, and that is my Hoya cartesia. I'm just dropping water everywhere because I just watered these yesterday. So yes, she looks pretty much the same as when I featured her, but you can see why this is on this list. It is one of my splashier Hoyas, and splash on tiny leaves is just so adorable. So even though she is really difficult, you can see her baby leaf is yellowing there. You see that? Yeah, so she is sitting in 70 to 80% humidity and I am still getting yellow leaves. So she is not an easy Hoya for me. But it is really cute and I don't think I will get rid of this even though it keeps dropping leaves. It is, I think, doing a little bit better than it was because I can see more new growth. And it is actually a fast grower if you give it the right conditions. It is just really finicky when it comes to humidity and watering. So I would just be mindful of that if you wanted to get this particular Hoya. So this next Hoya is something I also struggle with. Oh my goodness, that is so weird. I absolutely enjoy taking care of Hoyas, and they are some of the easiest ones for me. In terms of all the different genre of plants, Hoyas are definitely, you know, really easy. Most of them anyway. And it just so happens that this list also features some of the most difficult ones, coincidentally. So this is my Hoya cartesia splash. And it's not a difficult Hoya per se. Let me just show you that beautiful variegation on those heart leaves. So it is not a difficult Hoya per se. I am just having this strange problem where it shot out this long vine. I've had this for over a year and all it has done is put out this really long vine and it has just kept growing and no leaves will come out. Now I do think I know the problem. I did not give it a trellis early enough. This is actually from my friend Tony. She sent it to me for free as, you know, a depiction of one of my cats, Sleepy. So Tony, if you're watching, thanks again. But I think I gave it a trellis too late. Like, when I gave it a trellis, it was already up to here. So it can't really find it. I think what I'm gonna do is just chop it back down and hope that it restarts and finds the trellis and starts putting out new leaves. So if you're having a problem where Hoyas are just shooting out vines and no new leaves, I think if you've eliminated the possibility that it might be humidity or lighting or everything else, you think you're giving it optimal conditions, it may be that it is looking for something to climb, because that is what those tendrils are for. They are looking for something to wrap themselves around. So more often than not, that will solve the problem. So it's just my fault that I didn't give this guy the trellis that it wanted when it wanted it. And now it's just a little bit awkward with this giant tendril. Still very beautiful though. Let me give you one last look at those beautiful splashy leaves. The last Hoya I have to show you is actually my favorite splashy variety of Hoya. And it's not as splashy as the other ones, but I don't know what it is about it. I just love it so much. And that is the Hoya parasitica heartleaf splash. That is a long name. I'm pretty sure this has been renamed or something like that, but I will try to look up the new name. If I can find it, I will put it on the screen. But for now, I'm just calling it the parasitica heartleaf splash because it's what it was sold to me as. So this Hoya is just so beautiful. It has these chunky, kind of round but pointy leaves. And when I think wax plant, this is definitely what I think of. You can see how reflective it is. And also, I'm not sure how well this will come off on camera, but those splashes are pink. Like, that is beautiful. They aren't as pink as they were before because the sun doesn't hit this section directly. So I actually want to move this to the other side of the windowsill where the sun hits directly in the afternoon. But yes, when these get sun stressed, the splashes turn pink, which is just amazing. And I don't know, there's just something so simple and so cute about this plant that makes it really one of my favorites, probably in my top 5 Hoyas if I'm being honest. And the care is really easy too. This never gave me any trouble. I just water when the leaves feel soft to me. For me, that is around once a week. But definitely that depends on your climate and your conditions. And yeah, it doesn't really require a lot of humidity. I just keep it up and outside of this case, and it grows without a problem. I've actually taken multiple propagations from this. This would have been a big bushy plant if I didn't take so many propagations. So I think I will just let it grow out for the rest of the year and kind of see where we're at towards the end of the year. I will say, however, that the only problem I have with this is it tends to shoot out vines, and the internodal spacing or the spaces between where the leaves show up are kind of long sometimes, which is why I took a lot of propagations. So for example, this latest leaf will be here and the next leaf will shoot out like a long vine like that and then grow there. So to prevent that, I will chop it down and just wait for it to grow a new leaf closer to where the last leaf was. I hope that made sense, but that is something you can do if you don't really like the leggy, viney look that a lot of Hoyas have. Obviously, that means that your Hoyas will grow slower since they need energy to shoot out a new leaf from an unactivated or an inactive node. But I don't know, for me it's worth it to have more compact, smaller plants, which I prefer even for Hoyas. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all of my splashy Hoyas. I definitely am looking into collecting some more. If you guys enjoyed this video and if you have any questions, or if you own one of these Hoyas and have similar experiences or specific comments or questions about them, then definitely leave a comment down below. I would love to chat with you and just gush over our different Hoyas and their splashy leaves. Thank you so much for watching, and I will put a video up here for you to watch, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!